Right, so we are on episode, are we going to say 3 of the shotting sort of series where we cover our different shotting patterns for different situations.
Yes, please. Just stick a BB on and give it one of them, put loads of bait in it.
One rig does all in it. But anyway, another big one just jumped out there.
Yeah,
They're annoying me.
Get ready later on.
Right, so what we're on about today, yeah, we're going to, with type of season, what we're on, middle of September.
Yeah.
We're going with carp, proper carpies, so a bit more brutal, a bit angry on deck. You know what I mean? Fishing in deeper water.
Yeah, still
your short
like,
line or your long line.
Put a bit of bait in for them, can't you? You know what I mean? It's coming up to that time of year now. It's probably my favourite time of year when you can give them a bit.
It's feeding time,
to feed up for winter.
Yes. But you notice that the rigs that we're going to go on about, shallow fishing, although you won't like it, for carp, I think, slowly starts losing its effectiveness now.
100%.
September, they start dropping, don't they?
I need plummets.
Yes, we'll sort that. So yeah, that's what today's 2 rigs. I mean, really, really simple. They're both for the same situation where you're setting a trap.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting your pot in, you're keeping them on bottom, whether it's corn, meat, pellets, whatever.
It's irrelevant.
Same sort of rig, innit? You're just putting your trap in. They're both for, I mean, geared on stability, accuracy,
How
whatever
often
else.
do we see it as well? Obviously, we're going to go through the rigs in a sec. When we're coaching, people having different rigs for like different kinds of baits. It's like, no, it's exactly the same. Your shotting needs to be exactly the same from all.
Yeah, it's how you're feeding.
100%.
You do need different rigs for certain baits if they behave different. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Slow falling ones and things like that. But if your bait's going straight down to the bottom and you're fishing on the bottom.
Yeah, so like maggots might be a little bit different.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Maggots and certain baits that sink slow. Heavy baits run about. Carpy
You don't
baits.
fish maggots.
I
You
don't,
use like pellets, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the next one. We're going to do that next. Is the maggot one. So yeah, this is where, for me, it's meat pellet rigs. You know what I mean? We don't do nothing else. This is me hard pellet, me hayfield rigs. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Shorter hayfield, any carpy venue. What we've just been doing at Larford, although a bit smaller at Larford because of the depth.
It'd be interesting to see because they're not really covered like them deep water carp rigs, are they?
No.
You know what I mean? I suppose like you get that first rig out with the yellow bristle on, Jay, then obviously that's your more sort of traditional carpy rig.
Yeah, well, let's go straight up to that. So yeah, normal world where we've got normal weather, normal depth. If I'm going to say anything within your top kit. What we're going to say 7 foot at a push.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'd say so.
Your stability rig, very similar to your winter timey soft pellet rigs, but this is your hard pellet. Whether I fish corn, hard pellets, my stability rig that's going to keep it still when I'm fishing for carp.
Yeah.
So just touching on components and rig before we talk about shotting. Yeah, I'm big into my 2mm or 2.5mm bristles, positive bristles. You can see what's going on. So that's what with this type of shotting, that's what I've got. Because I find that on a different sort of subject, what I'm all about always is getting my bait to show up on my bristle. So the bigger your bait, the bigger bristle you can have, the easier it is. So with the type of baits I'm going to use for this type of fishing, again, my corn and my big pellets, a 2mm bristle registers nice with a lump of corn or a 6 or 8mm pellet on.
It's nice, isn't it, when you get it set perfect, when you're on that slope. If it's just going down that slope a little bit, your float obviously sinks slower, but when you bring it up, you know it's
just
lovely,
edge it up.
And you get that dunk and you're like, oh, I missed it.
Can you see what's going on? So yeah, we've got 2mm bristle on that.
Yeah.
And then something to talk about me coaching a lot is choosing the right size of float for the right depth. So in this case, when I'm fishing it's against stability rigs, keeping things tight over my pile, again, normal depths where I've got anything from 3 to 7 foot.
Yeah.
You have 3 floats. Yeah, you have a 4x12s from 2.5 to 3.5 foot.
Yeah.
You have a 4x14s from 3.5 to 4.5 foot.
Yeah.
And then 4.5 plus to about 6.5 foot to 4/16s.
It's just
in normal weather.
It's a perfect rule to stick by, definitely.
Yes. And weirdly, you shot in with each float, 4 12s, I shot with 10s.
Yeah.
4 14s, I shot with 9s. 4 16s, shot with 8s. Yeah.
That teach you anything, can
pretty much. That's pretty much the only shot. You might have a few messing about shot, a few fine tuners under your float. Like in this case, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4/16s has got 7 number 8 and 1 number 10.
Yeah. Just
because it can't take 8 number 8. You know what I mean? Just for shotting purposes. But what it's all about, the shotting on this, is creating my arc that I've spoke about a million times. And what I've simply got in this case, we're set at what was my join. We're on 5 foot on that rig. Yeah. And it's all your shotting is in the bottom third of the rig. Yeah, no more than the bottom third, because then you're going to create too much of a curve, and you've not got the more your shots spread out over your rig, the less stability you have in that bottom end to keep it where you want it. So you want it tight, but not too tight. Yeah, because otherwise you won't have your curve create. Because what I want is when my rig's up in the water, let me do that, Andrew. I don't know if we'll even see this, Richard. In fact, we're not, because we won't even see that on the camera. But I've spoke about it a million times, is that when my float's in the water, yeah, my rig curves down to my hook bait. Yeah, always. And with a shotting, a spread out form of shotting, that what you're going to give me, 1.5 inch apart in this case, 1.5 inch to 2 inches, it lets the curve occur. Whereas if it's too tight your shot in, it wants to sit vertically beneath your float all the time.
Yeah.
So it makes it very, very difficult to.
Aren't you?
It's got to be done.
Time,
yeah, more so where you mentioned then about on the slope, getting
yeah.
your bait to be incorporated.
Yeah.
I do it on the flat as well.
Right. Okay.
So I pull my float downwind, down toe, whatever's winning, pull it down to get that curve to happen. So my bait's anchoring, my big heavy bait, me 4 or me 6 mil, or me 6 mil or me corn or whatever.
Yeah.
So that anchors on the bottom, and then my rig's in a lovely curve all the way up.
Yeah.
So that shot is just nice. Do you know what I mean? But still very stable because it's big shot.
Yeah.
Say 10s, 12s, or 10s, 9s, or 8s. Big shot depending on the depth of water. It keeps it where I want it, right over my tight little pile. But at the same time, because it's that lovely tight curve, I see a bite quickly, and because I've got big shot for the size of float, everything's magnified.
You see the bite so quickly.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? In that case, it's got the first shot it's going to dislodge is a 4 inch. Is a number 8 on top of my 4 inch hook length.
Yeah.
Which is, I only ever use 4 inch now.
I know, we need to talk about that
this
as well, because I'm massive for anything sort of like what I'm saying. Probably about where you are now, I'll be on a 6 inch one, because I think presentation wise, it's going to fall through a lot more natural. But having listened to you and what you were saying about, you know, you can be doing the underwater one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When Rob was like pulling on your rig and you're not even seeing anything on your float.
Yeah.
It's done me head in, Jay.
But you're trying to catch him in a way that you're not trying to feed for. When you're through the water, forget about it. Set your trap, sit over the top of it. It's all about fish picking it up and you seeing it.
Yeah.
So the more slack you have there between that first shot and your hook, the less you see.
You'll only achieve that by that shot in as well, won't you?
4 inch hook length, big heavy shot right on top of it. You see what's going on. Say in this style, I'm not loose feeding, I'm not got bait falling through the water. I've just got my lump straight down on the bottom. I'm sitting over it. A method feeder effect. We talk about that loads and loads.
Yeah.
So that's the style of shot underneath that. So really, really simple. So whichever float you choose for the depth.
How are you for, like, say if you were coming shallower, say like 4 foot, 3 foot, you'd move them a little bit closer towards your hook, or would you leave them
faffy on
set?
In that I never ever move my shot, and a bit personal this one because it all depends on what time you've got to get ready. We're lucky, aren't we, in that the majority of matches we fish, you know what I mean, the majority of matches we fish you get 2 hours.
Yeah, definitely.
So every rig in my box
doesn't
have any shot on it. So it's shotted. I'll get the size of the float for the depth I'm going to fish. There's a decent window with a 4/16, for example. I said I'll use that from 4.5 foot to 6 foot.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit more even.
Yeah.
I don't want that to be shotted for a 4 foot peg and then fishing a 6 foot.
Yeah.
And I'm not into moving shot.
Yeah.
Shot go on this day, aren't you?
Yeah. Don't like it, do you?
No, they damage your line. Do you know what I mean? It just happens, regardless of what shot you have. If you stopped, it's different.
I've had it a few times where I've had a little nick in. I'm like, it's thick main line. And when you like hook length, beer eat, and then it snaps, and you're like, no.
I want every shot. Literally, my routine when creating a rig like that is put my hook length on. So I've literally got a bare line, a bare rig with hook length on, pull them up, then
swallow
shot
all your
it.
shots.
Swallow all my shot, yeah. Top up the lead poisoning. And then, shot it that way. Obviously, that's time limited. But if I had to have my rigs ready, I'd have them 4/16 4 foot, 4/16 4.5 foot. Do you know what I mean? I'd label the depth that rig's for, just so your shot is proportional to the depth you're fishing in.
It's mad, isn't it? Everyone's different. Because that'd proper do me head in, the fact that I couldn't move his shots if I was in shallow water. I'd have to put them. I'd have to move them. It's nuts how everyone's different.
So it's got to be perfect. That's what I think.
Yeah,
so
like
next
that.
up would be same line, and all this would be a case of is big, heavy, nasty weather. This is what I've used last week.
Wasn't it?
Just horrible weather, innit? When it is blowing an absolute hoolie, and you cannot get good presentation with your conventional rigs. You just have to go silly on. You know what I mean, in this case, I've got a 2 grammer. You know what I mean, big silly rigs. And that's the only time for me the Olivettes come out.
Yes.
But what I still find, I'm not into this bulk and 2 droppers like, or bulk and 1 dropper, because again, talking about my curve again, I'm always going back to that.
Line nice and straight.
So the less droppers you have, with having a big bulk. So in this case, I've got an Olivette. I've got a point whatever Olivette on that, and a few kickers underneath it. That's just to stop tangles and things like that. So I mean, my Olivette's at the top. That's always going to sit vertically beneath my float. I can't do nothing about that. That's always going to happen. So as long as that's right at the top end, and then instead of just having 1 or 2 droppers, which would probably, my bulk would be vertically beneath my float, and then if I didn't have enough droppers, I wouldn't have a curve at the bottom end. I'd have a kick off. And that way it's just not as fluent, so you don't see bite as much. So instead, in deeper water, or when it's really, really blowing, I'm more than happy to put, in that case, I've got 4 droppers. You know what I mean? It's the same as almost what I'd have on that. Where's my first dropper?
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? It ain't far off exactly the same, but I've got the bulk at the top end. So I'm going to have my bulk vertically right beneath my float, but then beneath the bulk, I'm going to have that lovely curve occurring Still, same again, plumbing up, plenty of line over depth. I'm never shy these days of plumbing, doing a float over depth.
Yeah.
As long as I pull on my rig and I get to see that bristle just dipping in to show that my pellet's anchoring, I mean, keep on pulling it on the back shot, and then I know that that curve's happening and I see a bite a lot quicker.
Definitely.
So really, really simple ways of shotting, aren't they?
It is, and it's interesting in how similar, obviously completely different weight of float, but how much similar it is down that bottom end.
Yeah.
Obviously we're talking about carp shotting patterns, not silvers.
Yes.
And it's all about getting that resistance from the fish. As soon as the fish touches that bait, you're seeing it on your float, and that's how you'll achieve it through that shot.
That's how I want to achieve it all the time.
Definitely.
I want to see bites as soon as they happen, but while at the same time maintaining stability.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I do not like me bait moving about. When it's on the bottom, it's on the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like lowering it in and that, but I never lift and drop and all that.
I was going to say, how are you for lifting and dropping?
Never, ever, ever.
Is that because it's going to ruin your trap and the curve and
yeah,
everything like that?
If it's not really pulling, then as soon as you lift and drop, your pellet goes beneath your float. And then you lower it back down and it's slack, isn't it?
Is that why all my fish are like discorded?
Potentially, it depends how fast the water's moving.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can do that, lift and drop it, but then you've got to pull your float a bit.
Yes.
Do you mean quickly get that arc and then you see a bite?
Yeah.
So it's just more so about the shotting. This video, it's emphasising on getting your bait incorporated, and seeing what's going on. But,
definitely.
So for me, nice simple way of shotting. Anytime you're just putting a cup in, you're not loose feeding, you're sitting over the trap, they'd be my two choices, and they keep things really, really simple.